Donald Trump has once again incriminated himself. At this point, it almost feels like he actually wants to end up in jail, or that he wants everyone paying attention to the very obvious criminal cover-up surrounding the Epstein files. He continues to show just how far he's willing to go and how many laws he's prepared to break in order to protect himself and the other people tied up in this mess. And he did exactly that in a completely unhinged post on Truth Social, which we're going to break down. But before we get into that, I want to quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, hit that subscribe button. It really does go a long way in supporting our work. Now, there's some important context behind Trump's latest post. It comes at a moment when the FBI, the Department of Justice, are clearly scrambling to suppress what could be millions of newly emerging Epstein-related documents. And Jessica Tarlov's reaction to that scramble is especially important to understand before we dive into exactly what Trump posted.
Totally. 30,000 is a lot to get through. And, the DOJ has been sitting on this for a long time, so you kind of would have thought that maybe they would have been better prepared for this moment, since it has been impending at least since Donald Trump won re-election. The Larry Nassar letter apparently is a fake as well. That got a lot of swirl today on social media. But I do think the Department of Justice and the Trump administration did themselves no favors by being so gleeful over Friday's documents with pictures of Bill Clinton, for instance, when they knew that more documents were going to come out where Donald Trump's name is mentioned several times. Evidence that he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane up to 8 times between 1993 and 1996. Two things that stick out to me that I think are very important, and this isn't about Donald Trump. This is about these victims getting their justice, that that there were at least up to 10 co-conspirators who we don't know who they are and they haven't been charged. And the fact that Maria Farmer, one of the victims, made a complaint in 1996 that wasn't taken seriously, wasn't addressed, and who knows how many victims could have been saved from a terrible fate of being used by Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, etc., if it had been taken seriously. Those stories really stick out.
The DOJ and the FBI quite literally cannot find enough people to keep up with covering these documents. They're rushing through redactions at scale, and it really makes you wonder what they thought was going to happen. That's honestly the question running through my head. Was Pam Bandy treating this like a last-minute college assignment? I remember being a student not that long ago, procrastinating, realizing at 1 a.m. that a 15-page paper was due the next day, and thinking, okay, I should probably start now. But this isn't a college paper. These are the Epstein files. Congress mandated their release. Donald Trump himself signed it into law. It makes absolutely no sense to procrastinate something like this, especially when delaying it only reduces your ability to cover up your boss's crimes. And yet, that's exactly what they appear to have done. That failure is why they're now paying massive overtime, why they're begging employees to come back to work during the Christmas holiday. And still, it's not working for Donald Trump. That's why just a few days ago, we saw him publicly complaining about why everyone hasn't moved on already. All of this is crucial context for understanding why Trump believed he could get away with the post he just made, one that only ended up incriminating him further.
Because of guys like Massey, who's a real lowlife, whose polls are down to about 9%, by the way, in the great state of Kentucky. If you look at Kentucky, Kentucky is such a great place, but I don't know, they've got a couple of people in there that are very strange in terms of leadership, but Massey's a loser. And he likes it, and that he works with the Democrats. He's just being used by the Democrats because
it does really seem like we were 100% right on the night that Donald Trump signed the Epstein files, that he believed that was it. On that night, I said, although that there had never been more attention paid to the Epstein files than when Donald Trump was signing the Epstein Files Transparency Act, it was incumbent upon us to keep on pushing because they wanted us to believe that simply signing that piece of legislation meant the files had been released and everything was fine and we should just move on. But that was never going to be the case. We needed to apply increasingly more public pressure, and it is the reason why the DOJ is floundering right now. And it is the reason why Donald Trump facing down 1 million documents that need to be looked over and redacted for his name. Of course, embarrassing photos of him, more incriminating evidence that has already leaked out. It's why he's panicked so much, and it's why he took to Truth Social to give Pam Bandy a new directive in the face of all these documents and all the chaos in his White House. And it's just the most idiotic thing he could have said. Trump posted on Truth Social. Now 1 million more pages on Epstein are found. DOJ is being forced to spend all of its time on this Democrat-inspired hoax. When do they say no more and work on election fraud, etc.? The Democrats are the ones who worked with Epstein, not the Republicans. Release all of their names, embarrass them, and get back to helping our country. The radical left doesn't want people talking about Trump and Republican success, only a long ago dead Jeffrey Epstein. Just another witch hunt. So Donald Trump, the very man who signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law, is now telling Pam Bandy and his allies at the DOJ, his loyal stooges, not to follow that law. Instead, he's instructing them to just keep posting photos of Bill Clinton and any Democrat they can find. That's what he wants. Trump isn't saying, do what this law was meant to do, bring transparency, deliver justice to the victims, and move forward with the investigation you claimed was a priority throughout your campaign and this administration. No, his directive is simple. Embarrass Democrats. He didn't say, release the full files and let the facts speak for themselves. He said, embarrass Democrats. That is a direct violation of the law. He is openly telling them to selectively release information, to turn this into a political operation designed to hurt his opponents. And the idea that no Republicans were photographed with Jeffrey Epstein is honestly laughable. Do you know which Democrat was photographed with Epstein the most? Donald Trump. Trump himself identified as a Democrat throughout the 1980s, the 1990s, and even into the 2000s. So, in a strange and unintended way, he's right. There are plenty of photos of Epstein with a Democrat. That Democrat just happens to be Donald Trump at the time. And while no one seriously considers him a Democrat today, he's ultimately the one who's going to be embarrassed by all of this. What matters most is that Trump is once again publicly instructing Pam Bandy, what honestly looks like another DM, to break the law. He is actively incriminating himself. And in the end, the only person being humiliated here is Donald Trump. From the very beginning, this administration has treated the DOJ as nothing more than a political arm of the White House. And now, in this Epstein cover-up, they've taken it even further, effectively taking over DOJ communications, seizing control of the DOJ's Twitter account, and using it to do Trump's bidding. If that's not embarrassing, I don't know what is. You can almost imagine the conversation in the White House. Guys, I know we've tried a lot of cover-ups. I know we've been throwing around ideas on how to escape this pedophile scandal, but I've got it. Tweets. That's the solution. Some memes on the DOJ Twitter account will crack the code. These people are idiots. They are wildly incompetent. The belief that a messaging operation is going to save them is exactly where Republicans get this wrong. They treat this like a PR problem, like all they need is better spin, a cleaner narrative, or a good week in the news cycle. Are you serious? You're protecting pedophiles. There is no amount of spin that gets you out of that. No communication strategy can fix it, especially not when your messengers are people like Carolyn Levitt and Stephen Miller screaming on Fox News until the veins pop out of their heads. It's not going to work. And Lawrence O'Donnell laid all of that out perfectly right here.
Former President Bill Clinton's office put out a statement saying, quote, "We call on President Trump to direct Attorney General Bondi to immediately release any remaining materials referring to, mentioning, or containing a photograph of Bill Clinton." And there it is. That is the model for how you handle this situation if you are in the Epstein files and you believe you did nothing wrong. Please feel free to now consider all of the prominent names you have heard this year associated with the Jeffrey Epstein, who have not demanded the immediate release of any materials referring to, mentioning, or containing a photograph of that person. Donald Trump has never demanded that. Donald Trump has done everything he could to prevent that from happening. Jeffrey Epstein's biggest business partner, Les Wexner, has never said, "Release everything about me that's in the Epstein files." And he is not saying it now, after his name emerged today in a 2019 Justice Department email titled "Co-Conspirators." The email described attempts to subpoena the list of co-conspirators, which included Ghislaine Maxwell. A legal representative for Mr. Wexner told the New York Times that he was not a target of the federal investigation or considered a co-conspirator. He provided federal prosecutors with background information on Mr. Epstein and was never contacted again, the representative said. So I guess that settles that. If a lawyer for Mr. Wexner of Ohio says he did nothing wrong, that must settle it. I would love to have that lawyer for Mr. Wexner of Ohio join us here on this program and tell us whether he responded to a grand jury subpoena and whether he testified to the grand jury. I'd love to have Mr. Wexner of Ohio come here and tell us all about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which no one has ever been able to understand or explain.
This isn't just a cover-up. It's not only a criminal cover-up, and it's not just a corrupt one. It's a stupid cover-up. They're terrible at hiding anything. They don't even know how to cover things up properly. They openly talk about the cover-up itself. This administration is being run by idiots, and I'm done pretending that isn't true. We are absolutely going to keep calling this out on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.